Brought to you by Sunbeam, the best electric appliances made. The deluxe Sunbeam Mixmaster food mixer and Sunbeam Time. New slimline beauty and new dimensions in time for every room in your home. Now, let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, as befits a teller of tall tales, here is the tallest star of them all, the rifleman, Chuck Connors.
And on my left, that popular lady of the press who leaves tomorrow for Washington to cover the arrival of Mr. Khrushchev for the New York Journal-American, the charming and vivacious Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, the charming and vivacious Random House publisher who also doubles as a columnist for This Week magazine, our own Bennett Cerf.
Chuck, what impressed me most about you was the way you umpired at that old-timers game up at the Yankee Stadium a few weeks ago.
Thank you, Bennett. I'm glad you saw that.
We have
You mean the base hit, don't you?
Oh, you got that, too. We've got an umpire on our show, too, and he makes some of the rawest decisions I've ever heard in my life. I refer, of course, to none other than old arbiter John Charles Daly.
Raw decisions, you said, huh? Well, now, it's going to be a nice evening tonight to celebrate the fact that our good friends in Canada finally sent us some nice cool air. Panel, you can be blindfolded in almost any minute. It'll suit me fine. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel.
Ready?
A little bit later in the show, and we'll have our first contestant in just one. Blindfolds all in place, please? Mm-hmm. Will our first challenger come in and sign in, please? And now, may I ask if you're familiar with the way we keep scores?
I think I am.
All right. In that event, we'll let the folks at home and those who are sitting here in the audience know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. Needless to say, you are blindfolded for obvious reasons. There's an area of identification here that gave us pause, and so we asked you to blindfold yourselves to make sure that your task would be as difficult as possible. We will, however, tell you that our guest is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Do you get your salary in a profit-making organization?
Do you get your salary in a profit-making organization?
Yes.
Would one have seen your name in the paper recently?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Would one have found it in the theater sections of the paper?
No.
1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Connors.
Am I correct in assuming that we're blindfolded because we would recognize you as opposed to what you might be wearing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work for, do you deal with people? Or people come to you when you do your work?
Well, with our guest's permission, I would say, Chuck, that as may be well true of all of us, there's an element of people coming and there's an element of personally going. But I think that we can agree that our guest deals with people, yes.
Do you stay in one place when you do your work?
No.
That makes it 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Would you say that your work was physical as well as mental?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
It's not physical. That means that you have nothing whatever to do with the field of athletics. Is that correct?
No.
That's 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
He has something to do with the field of athletics, but it's not physical.
Chess player.
Well, perhaps you have something to do with the management of somebody in athletics or some field of athletics.
The management of somebody or management of some field of athletics?
In some field of athletics. Are you, well, I must rephrase that. It's dreadful English, isn't it? Would you be considered a man not active in the sport that you represent? Not a player?
Yes.
Could you be an owner?
No.
That makes it 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Connors.
Am I correct in assuming that you are not using your own voice right now?
The answer is...
I didn't hear that.
The answer is 8 no yes.
Your question was that you're not using, can you assume that our guest is not using his own voice?
That's right.
And you got a big no for that. So that makes it 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, I would like to explore the field of sport a little, and perhaps some of the experts on the panel can follow it up. Do you have anything to do with the sport of baseball?
Yes.
Are you either a coach or a manager of a baseball team?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
You're not a coach and you're not a manager. Did we ascertain that you're not an owner?
Yes, we did.
No.
It has not been ascertained, but...
I asked.
Yes, didn't? Arlene asked it.
You gotta know.
I got a no for that.
I think you rephrased it. Anyway, you know what you want to know now, Bennett, and you didn't get penalized for it, so take off from there.
Could it be possible that you appear on the field at any time during the playing of a baseball game?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
I'm just trying, the owner, coach, manager.
Maybe he's an announcer.
Could we have a...
You may have 30 seconds for a
He
conference.
might be Mel Allen or somebody like that.
Yeah,
Bennett,
not with that voice.
Would somebody straighten me out? I think that John has just said that we have not established whether he is an owner. And so...
I did ask if he were an
That's
No,
owner.
we
what he
agree
thought,
that-
But John didn't think so.
Oh.
No, we are
Did I
agreed.
not establish that he was an owner, John?
Yes, you did establish it. It has been established that our guest is not an owner.
He is not an owner.
That's right.
However, it is a name very familiar to all baseball lovers everywhere. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Would I be correct in assuming that you are not an announcer?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Bennett. We straightened that out. Could I ask Bennett, who is very hip on these things, what other things there are?
No, you may not.
I can't.
No.
Oh. Could I ask Chuck, because he's new here. And also he once played right field or something. First base. All right, but John, because of friendship's sake and everything, just let me ask one question of Chuck Connors.
You may ask one question.
May I
of
ask
Chuck
you
Connors.
what other things there are?
Well, we could talk about the people who control the leagues and run them, like the league presidents and the commissioner of baseball.
Oh, is it Branch Rickey?
Branch Rickey, right. Mr. Rickey was a little bit concerned, Chuck, that he might have misled you a bit in the area of disguising his voice, which he wasn't doing, because you would remember Mr. Rickey when you were a rookie in baseball. Would that not be right?
I remember Mr. Rickey, who actually gave me my career in baseball. And it's a pleasure to see him again.
It's a pleasure to see you, too.
Thank you.
Mr. Rickey, how about that third league?
Inevitable is tomorrow morning.
Well, actually, now, Mr. Rickey, the new Continental League, you have 5 cities, I believe. New York, Houston, Denver, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Toronto, is it?
Toronto.
Now, you have 3 more places. Have you had any inquiries for the other 3 places in the league?
More than we can fill. The embarrassment is in the field of exclusion rather than inclusion. We shall have a very difficult time in choosing the other 3. In fact, we're now laboring hard at the moment to choose a sixth one, which will be announced surely in the next few days.
And what is your target date for getting the league underway with a full
1961.
schedule? Full schedule?
Full schedule.
150 some odd games?
I hope. 154 Major League schedule.
And we're going to have another team in New York. I must say that I'm not as knowledgeable about baseball, for instance, as Bennett is, who's a real fan. But I do think that New York City has lost a good deal since we've wound up with only one team. I think we need two teams, don't we, Bennett, in New York City?
Is
the
a desperate
Giants are doing
disappointment
fine
to
out in
us.
San Francisco.
Beg pardon?
I said the Giants we're still rooting for the Giants here. I am, anyhow.
I'm rooting for the Dodgers.
You'd better, Chuck.
Pittsburgh beat them today.
I think we need to add for the record that Mr. Rickey signed Chuck Connors before he learned to fire a rifle through his foot or any other place to the Dodgers. That's why Chuck is a Dodger. Thank you very much, Mr. Rickey. Wonderful to have you on What's My Line. And now, just again to set the record straight, since we didn't ask you to tell us Mr. Rickey's name but his occupation, we'll flip the rest of the cards so that you lost that round, just for the record, that's all. Yes.
What is his occupation? John?
Commissioner?
He's the president of the, of the new Continental
Not the
League.
commissioner.
No, the president.
What
Tough.
can you do?
If I had any more cards, I could flip them. But now let's see what we can do with the second challenger. Will you come in and sign in, please? Marilyn Picard, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs.?
Mrs.
Mrs. Picard, and where are you from?
Brooklyn, and now from White Plains.
White Plains?
Right.
Well, fine. You moved into Westchester from Brooklyn, but you stayed in New York all the way through,
That's
right?
right.
All right, Mrs. Picard, the panel.
I do.
Mrs. Picard, will you join me here, please? Do you know how we keep score, Mrs. Picard?
Yes, I do.
All right, in that event, we'll let folks here in the theater and those viewing the program at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, Mrs. Picard is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning this time with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mrs. Picard, do you work for a profit-making organization?
I do.
Is there any product involved in what you do?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Picard, we may assume, therefore, that you perform a service
Yes.
for this corporation. When you perform this service, do you wear any costume other than the ordinary costume that is worn daytime by most lovely ladies?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you wear something that covers you? Of course you wear something that covers you. No, but I mean, would it be considered, rather than a uniform, would it be considered a cover of some kind?
No.
I'll admit even I'm a little confused now.
She said she didn't wear any special uniform.
Oh, I thought you said she did.
I think you were
I
questioning
misunderstood.
in error there. Why don't
Bennett,
you...
you're so quiet down there tonight. I misunderstood. You do not wear a uniform of any
That's
kind,
right.
then. I'm so sorry.
I suppose you expect to continue nevertheless.
Oh, no?
Well, surely, go right ahead.
Do people come to you for your services?
Mostly.
Do you work indoors?
Most of the time.
Would you, in any way in your work, advise or instruct?
No.
Small conference. I think we have to be a little particular here, and since you said advise or instruct, we'll change that answer to a yes.
Do you advise more than you instruct?
You could say so, yes.
Could both men and women use your services?
Yes.
Could they ever use it at the same time? Would both men and women come to you at the same time?
Yes.
Yes, they could come at the same time to get the service.
Uh-huh. Do you work in a large edifice?
Who?
As opposed to a small shop?
Do you work in a large edifice? No, that's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Connors, and that'll teach you to use that kind of language on this program.
In your work, do you need a special training of any kind?
Yes.
Chuck, may I interrupt? Something
Sure you
has
may,
happened
John.
that I think everybody should be made aware of. Bennett is quiet tonight. He said, however, Arlene had an edifice complex. Well, now that's out of the way. Would you like to go on, Chuck?
Sure. Well, you're a trained filly. When people come to you for your service, do you have to touch them in any way?
Yes.
Do you touch them with both hands?
Yes.
Do you touch them above the waist?
Yes.
Only?
Yes.
I'm doing pretty well, huh?
Sure.
Do you touch them below the neck?
Yes.
Only?
You're in
Listen,
dangerous territory now, partner.
Hey, John, I used to be a football player, too, so right now, I'd like to pass.
Nice going, Chuck. Miss Kilgallen.
Chuck, I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch it, but
I'm
I'll
with you.
try. Now, you touch them above the waist and below the neck. And there's no product involved, only a service.
Just steady as you go now.
Do you touch their hands or arms?
Their hands are arms.
That's not yes or no.
It's difficult to answer, do you touch their hands or arms, yes or no? And you mean, oh, I see. It is not a
Either
differential.
one or the
Do you-
other, I mean.
One or the other do you touch, the hands or the arms?
Yes.
Only? Well, and there's still no product. You must do more. You're not just shaking hands with them like a greeter, are you?
No.
There's something more to it than that, or you wouldn't need special training.
You just got yourself a no there. You must be careful of it. You see, you are not just shaking hands, are you? Yes, she is not, no, yes.
I thought that was the kind you liked, John. Well, I meant she is doing something. Are you doing something more than just shaking hands with these people? And for some reason or other, they are better off or happier because of this?
I hope so.
In some cases, I would throw in there.
Do the men have to roll up their sleeves before you do this?
Not necessarily.
I
Go
think
ahead, Bennett.
the question here isn't, is it normal to roll up your sleeves?
No.
It is. Then we'll have to give you no. 4 down and 6 to go. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. Mr. Cerf?
Mrs. Picard, you say you have to have special training for what you do. Would this training be of a medical nature?
No.
No, that's fine, because we never brought up the question of special training either. 5?
I did.
Did you really?
Yes.
John, you're not listening tonight.
I'm just giving some bad decisions. 5 down and 5
John,
to
this is
go.
what's my line?
Oh, I thought it was the rifleman.
Thank you.
Do you
If I
measure
had a gun,
anything?
you'd know it was. I beg your pardon, dear.
Would Mrs. Picard, do you measure anything between the neck and the waist?
No.
That's too
6
bad.
down and 4 to go, Mr. Connors.
Mrs. Picard, when you touch these people on their arms with your hands, am I correct in assuming that you must use 2 hands?
Yes.
Now, I don't know why I asked that. That was pretty good.
It was a good question, Chuck.
But you see, judo has a lot to do besides the arms. Anyway, is it fun?
I enjoy it very much.
Yes.
You enjoy it. Do the people enjoy it?
Yes.
There's no pain
I'm getting
involved.
yeses.
Yes, you're doing splendidly. We just ran out of that minute I gave you about 3 minutes ago. And I'll have to tell you, I don't think you're very close to it, actually. Mrs. Picard is a fingerprint expert. takes fingerprints, reads them, judges them. And you do this for a private corporation, don't you?
That's right.
The Farot?
Furrow.
Furrow. The
Incorporated.
Furrow Library. But it's a private concern,
That's
not for
right.
any element of government.
No.
Thank you. You made a
Thank you
wonderful
very
guess on
much.
What's My Line. Nice to have you with us. And now we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first here is a message from our sponsor. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which my friends on the panel are once again blindfolded. Blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yeah,
Back on.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin it all with Bennett Cerf.
Does that tumultuous applause mean that you are in show business in some way or other?
Yes.
Miss Francis?
Branch Rickey fights back. Are you best known for work in pictures?
Yes.
Mr. Connors?
That's me now, huh? Are you also in any way connected with television?
Slightly, darling.
Miss Kilgallen?
Was that the same one? I don't mean to ask that as a question. Have you ever sung, either in pictures or on records?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf?
Have you got a picture now on Broadway or about to come to Broadway?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you appearing in a television series?
What happened to her?
Everybody gone?
No. Yes and no.
Mr.
Yes
Connors?
and no.
Mr. Connors, here's a voice. Are you married to a very, very well-known male motion picture star?
Yes.
Miss Kilgallen?
I would like to pass to Mr. Cerf, who might know the meaning of that clue.
Are you yourself, does this famous husband of yours own a television show?
Yes.
Miss Francis?
Well, are you thinking of Dick Powell?
I'm thinking of Joan Allison.
June Allison.
What is your question, Miss
Dorothy
Francis?
wants to ask a question, John. It just came up. I said,
May I ask you to ask it?
may Dorothy ask me to ask a question, please, John?
Yes,
We've all
go
gone.
ahead.
Dorothy asked Arlene to ask a question?
Yes.
Ask
Okay.
if she's ever sat in Bennett Cerf's lap.
Are you the young lady that sat in Bennett Cerf's lap? We think there's only one.
No.
Let's do it. There you go, Mr. Connors.
Your husband owns a television show, you say. Does he also own a lot of television shows?
Yes.
Miss Kilgallen?
Was he born somewhere other than the United States?
No.
Oh, I have got to... Actually, this isn't quite fair because we've run out of time, so I'm going to flip all the cards, and you may unmask in June Allison's right here.
Oh!
Let me very quickly explain, Arlene, that we gave you a yes and no answer because Miss June is in a series, but it doesn't begin until next
I
week.
realize now, of
DuPont
course.
presents June Allison on CBS, but it's not started yet, so we have to give you yes and no.
Ah, well, that's
And
fair
bless you
enough.
for coming to see us.
Thank you
So
very
nice
much.
to see you
I'm
again.
just sorry Bennett didn't recognize me.
Well, that disguise was
I
perfect.
yelled Joan Allison, Joan.
But you
Who
said...
yelled?
Yes, I said Dick Powell's wife, naturally thinking of men. Bennett said June Allyson, naturally thinking of women.
Yes.
But then it went by, so we thought it was wrong.
All right. Thank you, darling. I run out of time. I wish I had all night. It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you. You've done very well tonight, panel, and we'll be back after this word from our alternate sponsor. I'm a little untidy with time tonight, so I'll have to say good night for all 5 of us, and thank you for being with us on What's My Line?
Transportation for contestants on What's My Line is arranged by United Airlines. What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Cotton.